All right, peace and blessings, family. Welcome to the Soul of Music. And as you can see, this week we're going to start off with some funk music. And I'm so honored to be joined by some brothers and some sisters going to be on here in a minute to talk about the soul of music. But this week, the topic is funk music. So I'm so happy to be joined by Brother Rod, Brother Mike B, Brother Darius to be on here, and Sister Ifa Modukwe will be on here as well. They're going to pop in. But wanted to tell you all, when did you first discover funk?
Yeah. So man, funk. Wow. When I first discovered funk, I think it was in my household, right? So it was just like, it was something, it was the soundtrack to, me growing up. And it's funny, my dad to this day, he always says, he said, boy, when you was young and Jungle Boogie came on, he's like, you lost your mind. He's like, you didn't know the words, but it was just that rhythm. So I think around, man, 4 or 5, 3 or 4, when I heard it's so rhythmic, it moves. So I'm an early 70s baby. So, I say around like 77, 76, 77, 3, 4 years old, just remembering, how it made me feel,
Right. What about you, Brother Rod?
Well, those songs really, like, when I first heard Chocolate City, and I know them so well because I had to clean up the house to them on Saturday morning. Mom would get up and start cleaning up. She put on some music, and she put on these records. It'd be Chocolate City, and that, I think that came out in early mid 70s, somewhere around in there, somewhere like that. And just knowing these songs by heart because you were cleaning up to them. So you got to hear all kind of music that was being played in my house. My mom and my parents, they played all kind of music. So you might get up listening to jazz or something, but most of the time they put some funk on, and you was moving and grooving to that funk to clean the house up. So that's how I got to know a lot of these songs.
That's a trip. So what is funk? Like, I looked up the definition. I did. Like, like if I was some other people, like, what is this funk music?
Yeah,
and when I looked it up, it basically said it was on the one. It's when James Brown would say on the one. So it's on the one. What is on the one? Like, what, how do we know what on the one is?
You could actually play a song by Parliament and you can hear it clearly. All we was on the one.
The funk, yeah.
Yeah. All we, and it always came back around. So it was like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and it made an emphasis on the one, so it would make you dance. So that's how that was working with, the one, anyways, from my perspective.
Right. That's a good breakdown too. And then you'll hear a lot of music that's on the 2 and the 4 too, right? So it's a pentameter in music, right? It's that top, 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 top. So the 2 and the 4 be in the middle of that. Sometimes it'll be 1, 3, 1, 3. Then the 2 and the 4, sometimes it'll be in the middle. But funk definitely, like Rod said, is on the 1. And I think it's on the 1 because it's funky, right? It's like, bam, it's in your face. You know what I'm saying? It comes back around. And that's why I don't know. It's my favorite type of music, I think.
Is it really?
I think it is.
Right.
Funk is this.
Yeah.
It's really raw, uncut.
Right on. Is there a when you think of funk music, is there like an attitude or like a political vibe to it or some kind of vibe to it at all?
It definitely is the attitude. It's just the city grit, the the bluesy, gospel-y, where people stepped away from that and just put it on the one and made it like this gritty, rhythmic music. You know, it's just, it didn't have to be perfect. You know, it just was this, and not saying that the musicians was bad at all. They were great artists, very skilled, but it was always this grittiness to it, this looseness, this, you know, freedom to funk music. You know what I mean? And just, you know, when you listen to Bar-Kays and, you know, so many different groups, you know, One Way, you know, all these different groups, you know, that did funk, you know. It's just a fun way how to describe it. It is definitely this feeling more than anything, you know. It's this feeling.
I think it, for me, funk is, and Rod probably can attest to this too. Funk is what the church musicians really wanted to play, right? But they was in church, so they had to play. But once they got out, you know, and was able to play the vibe of the city, once they was able to get out and play what was really in their hearts in terms of what they were seeing on an everyday basis, then, because what happens is a lot of the funk musicians, most of them, they weren't classically trained, what you would consider classically trained musicians. They play by ear, right? Or they play by feel, a lot of them. And so that's how I look at it. It's like what the musicians of that day that were playing gospel church is what they really wanted to play once they were able to get out of those restraints. And that's what funk is. You know, you see, it's just, it's like Rod said, it's a feel, right? And so you get that feel from the spirituality that comes from church, but then you get that grit from walking down the street and almost not making it home. You know what I'm saying? And still being a bass player. So when you get home, you're playing that like, yo, this is what's really going on. So I think that's kind of what funk is for me.
So is it safe to say that funk came out of James Brown, like his creation, or what?
It's really like a little bit more than James Brown, but he definitely made it more popular. There was other groups doing it too. James Brown, you think about back then, Jesus, I can't even think of somebody right now, but James Brown made it more popular. You might be right. He might have created it, you know, so to say, at least on a popular term. But it was some other group that pushed it there, like Ohio Players, you know, when they first were starting. You know, those was groups that was around that time too. A lot of people don't know that they were doing music for a long time before they got known, but they definitely were putting funk, you know, out there, you know, pushing that envelope to make it a funky music. The R&B, they made it because people wanted to dance too, you know. So they made it an up-tempo, funky thing, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I think that James is like the face and probably the pioneer, you know. But there were other groups. Ohio Players. You had trying to think who else you had. Right, there was so many groups back then, and then even some of the
so many groups.
What about Confunction?
Confunction, right?
That was a little later. That was a little later. Confunction was just a little bit later though.
Okay.
But yeah, it definitely was. Confunction was definitely a funky group.
Yeah. And to me, that's what the funk is. That's what the funk is, right? It's funky. It might not always smell right? When something's funky, you ever see somebody's face when something just you like, but it's
there we go.
It's dope.
There we go.
There you go.
There.
Slide.
There you go, girl. Slide the Family Stone. I couldn't think of it, but there it is right there. It's definitely him and James Brown. They were bringing that funk out.
Right.
There you is. You hit it right on the head when you pulled up that picture right there. Slide the Family Stone. He definitely was one of the creators of funk. That sound that they had was incredible. And he was on a whole nother level as far as pushing the envelope of music, you know, just pushing it ahead. And man, it's incredible. Incredible. That's a great great pick right there.
Right on.
He's one of my favorite artists.
Yeah, I remember seeing some video where he was like 18 backing up James Brown, like killing that bass, basically. You know, and hearing his stories about working with James Brown was hilarious. I don't know if you've ever seen Stories from the Road. I think it's like a cartoon.
Yeah, I seen some of them.
Yeah, I see some of that.
His stories have me dying.
James was serious. James was real serious.
Wow. So what were some of Bootsy's hits and what made them so good to you all?
So Bootsy got a whole catalog, right? I Want to Be With You. But then, the story of Bootsy was on that show as well, talking about how, what was he, Rod, 19 when he was playing with James? 19?
Yeah.
His brother was playing, I think, either saxophone or trombone, and then he's like, my little brother can play. He can play bass, bring him on. And Bootsy was so funky, James would get upset because Bootsy would, there's a saying, musicians are supposed to stay in the pocket. You're supposed to stay wherever James put you. But Bootsy was so funky, every once in a while he might throw something in there, or if a solo went his way, Bootsy would just go Bootsy, and him and James, they didn't get along.
Wow.
Bootsy was so funky, So I think Bootsilla, man, because it's, Rod, it's that rhythm section, Rod, right? It's that bass and that drum and how they marry and how they, and that's what the true story is. Some of the real story about even James Brown is that his drummers, the drummers that James Brown chose, those were the cats, Clayton Filiu and Stubblefield. Those cats were the ones who, really kind of created like the sound of hip hop original drum line. So
exactly. Everybody loved their breaks. You know what I mean? We get
all the breaks.
We go back and forth on the turntables, or we sample them and make beats out of them. Everybody loved them breaks from James Brown.
Why do you think
Family Stone?
Why do you think so many of James Brown's songs was sampled like that in so much of hip hop?
His tempos, the rhythms of his songs, the rhythms of the horn section with Fred Wesley and Maceo and them just throwing down. It just was so catchy, and it was easy for MCs to rap to, easy for producers to take that and loop it or chop it or whatever they wanted to do. It's the rhythm. His rhythms were incredible rhythms, and you think about all the music that he's got, all the albums that James Brown got, it was always about that rhythm. Whatever you played, he wants you to play it like it was a drum. Whatever you played, play it like a drum.
Yeah.
The horns, play them like a drum. Bass, play it like a drum. Guitar, play it like a drum. He wants you moving.
Yep. And I think too, one of the big reasons why he was used early on too is, like, if you listen to James Brown songs, they're funky, they're complex, but they're not difficult, right? And so everything, like Rod said, when you record, everything's on a track, right? Everything's on a different track, your horns, your sound. And the way James arranged his music, you can almost listen to it and take different parts out. Like, oh, let me get this. Let me get that. Or it just was organized, where a lot of other people, it was stuff hidden behind stuff. You couldn't kind of hear it or whatever. James, you could hear the whole thing. It was like Technicolor. It was like jumping out of the record on you. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of cats were attracted to that. Too, like Rod said, a lot of the cats in hip hop, early hip hop, are our age. So they were cleaning up to that music. They were cleaning up to the music. And they knew, that's what they knew. They was like, yo, I'm taking this, to create this. So.
So what is this? What is this?
That's the mothership.
That's my uncle.
Man, so what did the mothership represent? So tell us something. What did this mothership represent? I did see that the African American Smithsonian. I did take a picture in front of it. It's the mothership.
That mothership represented this freedom of for Black people. To me, from what he was saying, it's coming to It's coming down. Y'all ready to leave this planet and go away to freedom, go somewhere where we're happy, where we can express ourselves and not be worried about racism or classism or, how much money you got, what you smelled like. It was just total freedom when it came to the mothership.
Wow.
I think too, like Rod said, I think the mothership is a symbol for just free thought, right?
Yes.
No restraints. I've had as a stagehand, I've had the opportunity to work many George Clinton shows, like many, and he, it's that same energy, right? And that's what it is. It's that mothership. It's like, look, the free thought is coming home to take you back. You know what I'm saying? Are you gonna get on this mothership or not? Are you gonna stay, constrained? And I think without a shadow of a doubt, like if you listen, that's another person, you listen to his music, like you can hear so many different sounds, right? That are all meshing to make one sound. But just the creativity in it it's incredible. It's incredible. I think I listen to that every day too. I listen to George Clinton.
My favorite that's my favorite funk group of all time is Parliament. All day long.
Parliament. Why do you like Parliament so much? What is it about Parliament?
Once again, it's all about the rhythms. And then, the voices, the way everything's, and then the complexity of what Bernie Worrell was doing, the keyboard player. He made all those synth sounds and he dialed those in himself. He just gave it that. And, he's a classically trained pianist. He, playing Mozart and Bach and whatever, you know what I mean? He was classically trained pianist doing funk, and he had this ear to where he dial in those sounds on his mini moog. And he's got to be one of the funkiest clavinet players ever to live, straight up.
I didn't know that.
He played that clavinet, just as good as Stevie Wonder. And everybody knows Stevie is a beast on the clavinet piano. But Bernie was incredible. The way, once again, those rhythms. You talking about, he did the first song that used synth on bassline with Flashlight. You know what I mean? He created that whole get down with Flashlight. He played the bass on it, the bass sound. So Bootsy played on that song too. But you know what Bootsy played? He played the drums on the song. That's Bootsy.
Is that
on the
right?
drums.
I did not know
that's
that.
Bootsy on the drums. Straight up. That's Bootsy playing drums on that session.
So Rod, can you explain, Rod? Can you explain the difference between key bass and regular bass?
Key bass is,
Good question.
something you play on the keyboard.
Okay.
The lower tones on the keyboard. The bass is played with strings. Now you could put effects on it to give it similar sounds to the keyboard. That Moog or Prophet or whatever keyboard sounds you're using to get the low end, that is holding down that whole Flashlight song. It's Bernie playing that whole get down.
I remember thinking in my head, right, I got in an argument with a musician we know, and I was like, nah, that's Bootsy playing that. And then I had to listen to it again after me and him got in this argument, because I was like, dang, if he was playing that on some strings, his fingers would be, you know what I'm saying? But it's good to know. You taught me that too. So wow, yeah, that whole that bass line on Flashlight is it's ridiculous.
Yeah, iconic. It's there forever.
It's out of this world. That bass line is just ridiculous. Like, you know what I mean?
Rest in peace, Bernie Worrell, and then another fact that you guys that's incredible about these musicians. Gary Goins was the guitar player in Parliament too. And if you look at a video where he's the one saying, swing down, I want to ride chariot, on Mothership, right? So him, Bernie Worrell, and Bootsy, they go to a session for Johnny Taylor. They go to the session and they make some music. Sold 1 million hits. It sold 1 million sellers, platinum, in the late 70s. Actually, that's probably mid 70s. But you know what that song is? What Bernie Worrell played keyboards, Gary Goins played guitar, and Bootsy played bass on Disco Lady. They wrote the music.
What?
Yeah, by Johnny Taylor.
What?
Yeah, they wrote the music to that, and they was you can see Bernie Worrell in the video saying, "Don't bring that up. That pissed me off. We got $500." And that record sold $1 million.
Right.
So, yeah. So that's incredible. That blew my mind when I found out about that. That was another little thing. I was like, wow, these cats, and it don't sound nothing like their music, but they came to that session with a different mindset. We're gonna calm down, we're gonna pull back and give you this and put you in the pocket with this one, and it sold 1 million.
Yeah,
1 million copies. So
that's incredible.
So here's a question I have. Maybe you can help me out with this. So when I was looking up like funk music, it kept making it seem like it blended into disco. Was there a tight marriage there with that? I'm just
it really
serious.
is. You think about.
I thought Chic was disco. Was that funk?
Yeah,
Chic.
You think about.
They had him down as
you
funk.
can think about. Exactly. It kind of did. It was going counter to disco. Now the pace of funk was still going with the pace of disco, but it wasn't playing the simple rhythms, as disco was. These are more complex rhythms, more freedom, more funky than the disco stuff. Disco was more poppy sound to it. But if you think about like what Motor Booty Affair,
right,
on Aqua Boogie album, that was like a disco. It had that 4 on the floor. It was rocking.
Yep.
Just like disco, but they made it funky.
Right. And back to the question about the Parliament, because you had funk already, and Parliament put the P in P-Funk. So they were so funky, you almost had to redefine funk, right? Because you had to put the P on the front because Parliament, funkadelic. But I think, like Ron said, I think, bro, we always try to make a distinction. I know, especially in hip hop, we try to make a distinction between, the different music genres. And like Rod said, I think back then, disco and funk was so closely aligned, because what we learn is in the music industry is that oftentimes you have to share musicians, right? You might have a musician that primarily plays disco, right? But then you got this funk album and you need some keys laid, or you need a lead guitar riff, and so you end up using musicians that might be in two different genres, to create whatever it is you're creating. But I think, Rob, for me, the funk kind of expounded more on that rhythm section, that bass and that drum, than disco, right? Like you had more, it just that they put that in the front as opposed to the melodies or whatever it might have been in disco. You know what I'm saying? Still danceable, but it was a little more funky, I think.
Now I put this person up here. I don't know if y'all know who this is, but when you listen to his songs, pretty much, well, a few of them that I know, I hear Rufus.
Yeah.
Rufus, yeah.
So I'm listening to some of his songs, and I hear all them bass lines that you would hear in funk music. I mean, look at the dude standing behind him. He looked pretty funky. So would his music be considered funk music?
It's the very beginning of it, yes, it is.
Funky itself. He got on pink with a Rams necklace.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he
Huh?
I think anybody who wearing white patent leather shoes and white socks like that, they funky. You can pull that off. If you can pull that off right there, you funky.
Yeah.
So that's at the Watch Stats. I don't know if y'all seen that concert. I'm pretty sure y'all have.
Yeah. I got the vinyl.
Yeah,
I got Watch Stats 1 and 2.
Yeah. So when I heard that breakdown, I said that sounded like funk back there. The bass was rocking, and that's what it. But would he be considered a funk artist, or can you be a funk artist? I don't know.
I mean, you got to really give him his props though, because he was doing it. He still was doing it straight up. He was doing it. He was doing it. Most definitely.
So Chic would have not been funk artist. That was just.
That's disco.
Ooh, that's disco.
What about the brothers?
But they did, like Good Times was kind of funky.
Good Times was funky because that bass line in good that bass line in Good Times is funky.
I don't want to say
no.
Yeah,
that bass line was funky.
That was funky, So it's just hard.
Sugar Hill Gang thought it was funky.
Yeah, they rode that all the way to stardom.
Sugar Hill Gang thought that was funky, boy. Sugar Hill Gang, but they rode that thing.
What about that?
Of course.
Oh, so listen, you had me do 5 songs, so I wrote down my 5 songs. Woo! And you know what song here, Ron, for me? It's Heartbreaker 1 and 2.
Oh,
Heartbreaker 1 and 2. And then when a brother got to make a part 2 to the part 1 on the same album, like Heartbreaker 1 and 2, and they both so funky, but they're so different. Zap is like one of my favorite, man. Zap, listen, rest in peace, man.
Rest in
peace, Roger Troutman, man. Rest in peace, man. But
what about you, Rod? What do you think about Zap? And I said Roger, then Zap came to my head. Like, this is Zap.
Yeah. Hey, you talking about one of the greatest funk groups of all time. He took the vocoder to a whole different level, to a whole nother level. They were so talented, just coming out of Dayton, Ohio. They were so talented, and that whole area, for whatever reason, produces great funk groups out of Dayton, Ohio. I don't know if it's the church, more likely it is the church there, and these cats are going to jam sessions, man, incredible. Like I said, incredible. So many great hits from Zap and Roger, bass lines, rhythms. They can sing. They put on a show too.
Yes. Yeah. So another thing I think is awesome about funk is that a lot of live instruments.
Yeah.
So the only place I've ever seen people playing a lot of live instruments is when I was in New Orleans. Like every year when I go, whether it's the road trip or just going to work or just going to have fun, you always see these second lines, young men, young little brothers, 3rd, 4th generation playing a particular instrument. Was it like that in the 70s and in the 60s that instead of, growing up in the era where they had turntables, like people played instruments?
Yeah. Definitely you had to play an instrument. There wasn't no beat machines and all that stuff. Producers, you're not existing around that time unless you can play. There's no computer to loop anything. There's no drum machines to tap your beats into. You got on the skins with them sticks and your feet and your hands and whatever came from your mind. Playing guitar, bass, keyboards, horns, percussion. It's what. Hey, you had to come from your mind, your heart, and your soul, and practice.
Yep. And there was a hierarchy back then, right? So, you had the alpha drummer, then you had the person who was second, person who was third, person who was fourth, right? Same with every instrument. You kind of had this hierarchy. But I think what funk did too is it also, I think it's the first time in music that I've seen, especially in Black music, where they added an electronic element to it, right? You had the vocoder, like Parliament Funkadelic, they add different sounds, space sounds, and it was that first start, I think, intermingling of kind of traditional instruments with kind of the electronic right. The keyboard started to change back then, right? Like you had keyboards that could do different things. And I think that was an appeal to a lot of people probably outside of the Black community, right? Because you had those sounds and those different things, man. And that's why funk is just man.
So let me bring up another name for y'all too. But this is one of the funkiest songs too. Is "I Want to Be Your Lover" by Prince. That song was funky. That song was funky. I wish Brother Darius was out here. he would give you game on Prince because he's a big time Prince fan.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with his camera. He popped in and out twice, but his camera's not coming in.
Yeah. He'll get on there when he can. But I Want to Be Your Lover, played by one man, every instrument. That was tight.
Wow.
Now that lets you know how tight Prince is,
Right on. So is there like a progression? Like, for instance, I found this picture I'm going to share with you all. I don't know if y'all even can recognize anybody in this picture. But
George Clinton.
And so how did he go from
Fuzzy Williams from Parliament in there too? Yeah.
So how did they go from that, which is, what is that, like doo-wop? What is that?
That's doo-wop.
That's doo-wop, right?
Yeah.
So how did they go from that look? Look at the look, slacks, white shoes, okay. And then they go from that look to this next look I'm gonna show you. Was that, you think this is part of the progression of music as a form of expression to go to this here?
I think
it's a story behind them dressing the way they are.
Right on.
Like, cats was going to get their suits clean before they go on show, and these cats couldn't afford to get their suits clean. They were broke. So these cats was like, put a blanket off the bed, put a hole in it, wrapped them around them, and said, "Let's go play." And that's really how they got started, because they couldn't afford them suits and all that. They said, "Man, just wear what you want to." So George Clinton gets a blanket off the bed, cuts a hole, and throws it over his body. Let's go rock. Y'all wear what you want to. And then Gary Scheider grabs a blanket and wraps it on him like a diaper.
I've never.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, I absolutely love the story of him making Atomic Dog. Because stories from the road. I was laughing so hard because he thought he was high.
He coming high.
Ooh, genius though. Genius. Even in his craziness, genius.
He was a genius. What makes you go in there and you hide and you start singing about dogs? And the tape was going backwards, so he like, dogs. Let's sing about dogs. Oh my God.
I laughed so hard when I watched it. I had to rewind because I was like, what? That's like his top selling single was that.
Yeah.
So,
Atomic Dog. Wow. And that was a hit for him.
Yeah, that was a hit too. But it was funny because he thought they were trying to do the studio without him, so he was still even though he was high.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's just pure genius.
Yeah.
But I look at all of those books,
I think that music, that particular music in that era, and that time of music was particularly special because back then, and Rob can speak more to this. Back then, you had to record in a analog platform, meaning, if you messed up, you had to do it over. It was no like, okay, cut it right there. Let's drop it in here. Just redo that part. But then you had to do it over. It was like, hey man, we done recorded, and he done played wrong. We got to do the whole thing over. And I think that lent itself to like almost indirect perfection, right? Because they had to play it so much. When they got on stage, it was like, whatever, put a sheet on. It don't matter. I'm still gonna play it the same. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
I think one of the things when I think of funk music, I think of a lot of fun, and I think of freedom. And because when you look at jazz and that, if you go backwards a little bit, there was a lot of confining and having to be right and be perfect and be presentable to other people and make sure you're safe to other people. They were just like, fuck it. Like, get it. You know what I mean? You was like, yeah. Like, you know what I mean? It felt so good to your spirit. You're like, yeah, like that. Because I think there's
that's that freedom.
There. That's how I felt about, when you hear something, like, it make you go down. Like you about to get down. You know what I'm saying?
We gonna have some fun. And
we're gonna have some fun. Right
even though they were like, fuck it. The musicianship was on point.
Sick.
Yeah.
The runs, I mean, they just were incredible. musicians, off the chain, straight up.
And and this group right here, the Elements were just,
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Earth, Wind, and Fire. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man, we the Elements. We what give things life. And that's, again, one of my favorite groups ever, And if you look, they were super conscious. If you look at a lot of their album covers and things of that nature, they were speaking, you know what I'm saying? Manifesting some things. So, man, Earth, Wind, and Fire, man.
I just remember horns from them. Like, always seeing all I remember seeing horns when I was a kid. Because I had cousins who loved Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like, had they plastered all over their wall on the album covers. But I just remember horns with them. Like, I just thought that was so awesome.
They represented Afrofuturism way back then.
Right on.
Way back then,
So what is Afrofuturism? I hear people say that, but what is that?
Well, I don't know if I got the correct meaning, but what I see is like us moving forward in the future, but also have a past too.
Right on.
Bringing our history with us that so many of us don't know.
Right on.
We really don't know it. So without knowing your history, how you gonna really move forward?
That's real talk.
And they always would bring the pyramids and this third eye vision to their album covers, which was inspiring, to a little kid as myself back then, looking at their album covers and reading the back of it and just really learning who was playing what, who was doing what, Incredible group, though.
Yeah. And I think that process and that time of music, I think, because it's a group of them, right? So it's real tribal and communal. Like, it's a lot of, look at it, me and Rod, we do some work with, we work with a band, and that's a lot of pieces right there, Rod, to manage, you know what I'm saying? It's a lot of pieces to
a lot of pieces to
they
manage.
all were able to get it.
So no.
Yeah, they were all able to get it, meld the sound, make it dope, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I think that's what's lost in today's music is that, as I was talking about earlier, back then you had to press analog, you had to record analog, and I think that a lot gets lost in this digital era where you can, your margin for error is greater, right? So you don't have to put as much effort into your music, being a top musician or a top vocalist or because we got filters and we got things like that that'll, help adjust for that, right? So you just start selling a caricature, if you will. You start selling a persona, and the product's not dope. And back then, the product was dope. Like, it was dope. Like, you wouldn't dare get on stage with none of them if you wasn't tight. You know what I'm saying? So
right. Where did you guys recognize where they come from? Doing that soundtrack for Mario Van Peebles' dad. I forget his Melvin Van Peebles. They did a Sweet Backs Badass, something like that.
Sweet Backs Badass song.
There you go. They were the cats that did the soundtrack for that. Maurice White, he used to play drums with Ramsey Lewis, the jazz artist, jazz pianist. So, he's a incredible musician, incredible writer, incredible singer. Maurice White is just, he was the king of R&B.
Right.
Man, king of R&B,
Right.
Wow. So, but didn't some of them start off as jazz musicians?
Yeah, that was Maurice White. He was the drummer for Ramsey Lewis. I'm not sure about the other players, but I definitely know that because I've seen him on some albums that I have with Ramsey Lewis. He was the drummer.
Right on.
Oh yeah.
So would they consider to be like in funk, the 70s of the Isley Brothers? Because they go a long way.
I think so.
They have funky songs. Oh yeah. Who's that lady? Fight the Power. Those are some of the funky songs that they have. Straight up.
Wow. I mean, I think they music go over like 4 or 5 decades. They've been around. They have a large.
They've been around. They've been around.
Yep.
Now he Mr. Big. How you doing,
Mr. Big? Right. Now he Mr. Big.
Off the chain.
He done been around so long, he was able to change his whole persona. Call him Mr. Big.
Yeah, that always makes me laugh when I see like pictures of like people who are older now when they were young and be like, "Yo, what was y'all doing then?" You know. Would you consider this artist a funk artist? Anybody know who that is?
I forget her name. I don't know if I can't really call her funk though.
Okay, that's why I'm asking.
She was kind of like on the edge of raunchy stuff. I can't remember her name.
Her name is Betty Davis. She used to be with Miles Davis, but I don't think she was ever married to Miles Davis. I don't think. I don't know. So I know she was with. That's how I first discovered it was with Miles Davis, but I didn't really know a lot about her. So, but she wasn't funk at all. What was her kind of music? What would you call it, Rob?
I don't know if I can say it wasn't funk.
Was it funky? Was it funky or funkless?
It's kind of rockish, funky type of sound.
Okay, like rock. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonder about that. Okay, that was a question I was going to ask you. I had already told you I'm going to ask him about Betty Davis because I don't know. So, who did y'all pick down for your top 5 funk songs of all times for you?
Man, so
who you got?
This is just.
I know it ain't easy, but I mean, I
got Tom Brown, "Funkin' for Jamaica."
Okay, that's because I got. Is that the Jamaica funk song?
Yeah, Jamaica funk. Yeah.
That's what I had about Jamaica funk. I didn't know the name of it.
Yeah, Tom Brown, "Funkin' for Jamaica." James Brown, "The Big Payback."
Oh yeah.
This is funny because I chose this one because it's funk, but this is one of those kind of funky disco, but it's funk to me. And that's Alicia Myers, "I Want to Thank You," right? And there he is.
Yeah.
So I got Alicia Myers, "I Want to Thank You." And I just seen, well, I didn't just see, it's not new, but Busta Rhymes and Q-Tip did a remix with it. It's pretty dope too. Then I told you I got Zapp, "Heartbreaking 1 and 2." And then I got, and this is not, see again, it's the funk part kind of meshes, but I got kind of like Marvin Gaye's "Gotta Give It Up." You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I can see that.
I felt like the bass line and the drums and the feel, like you were saying, Ro, like about to me, that was funky. You know what I'm saying?
It's funky.
So,
it's funky.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I'll talk.
That's my 5.
Darius, thank you for joining us. I seen you trying, brother. Thank you, froze my.
That's my dude.
Question: would Fela, even though we know that's Afrobeat or whatever, did he have funk in his though? I felt like when I hear some of these people doing tributes to him, I hear funk music in that. But that's
definitely. You hear James Brown influence all in his music.
Oh yeah,
that's definitely funky.
I hear Fela. Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so
definitely funky. Definitely.
Oh, okay.
My top 5 is from 5 to 1 would be, and it's hard to put 5 like that. It's just
I know.
It's not right to put it to 5.
I don't want to give y'all too much of a homework assignment, but I was like, if he had 10, I would be good because it's kind of hard to pick 5. But
I got a million.
You don't funketeer, so I'm not trying to. Yeah. So what you got?
So I want to go with a local group out of Stockton, Ninth Creation. It's a joint called Bubblegum. You know, I'm not sure if anybody's up on that. You know, but they were funky. You know, this group called Ninth Creation, Bubblegum. They're out of Stockton, and they got a cult classic. You know, when it comes to like hip hop heads and funksters, it's a real funky cut too. And then number 4 would be Music Man Part 1 and 2 by Pleasure Web, but it's really Junie Morrison playing all this stuff and singing it, you know, and that's a real funky song. It's real funky. Music Man, Pleasure Web, And number 3 would be Frantic Moment by Eddie Hazel, guitar player from Funkadelic Parliament. That's a real funky song. I love it. It's a real classic. James Brown, number 2 would be Ain't It Funky, parts 1 and 2.
Which one?
And then Ain't It Funky Now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was it's a certain version though, that's what's killing me. It's a certain version that's really like killing it. And then my number 1, and these really just off the top of my head. I could have picked, a whole darn fam with 7 minutes of funk. I could have picked Gap Band. When you want to dance, what's that one? If it's wanna dance, don't mean that I don't want to.
Don't mean that
I could have picked that. That's a funky song. I mean, there's just so many songs, But Knee Deep by Funkadelic was like my favorite funk song. And then like a lot of people don't know that Junie Morrison basically wrote that song. You know what I mean? He's from the Ohio Players, Junie Morrison, by the way. And George Clinton would get mad at him because he'd be in the session trying to play all the instruments. He's like, "Hold up, man! You gotta let us get in here, bruh." Because he could play everything. Real funky cat, Junie Morrison. And Philip Wynne singing on that, from the Spinners. You know what I mean? Everybody knows that, so. Incredible, incredible song. That Knee Deep song is, incredible song.
That Knee Deep is,
yeah.
So when you think about those songs, what is the funky bass line? Like y'all name at least 5 songs at least. What is the funky bass line that goes through all the songs? Like what makes it so funky?
Man, if you're thinking about what Knee Deep, it's that bass line being played all the way through on the keyboard, Bernie Worrell playing that, or did Junie Morrison play that? I'm not sure. Everybody say that Junie Morrison wrote it, but I'm not sure if he played all through it or what. But I'm pretty sure he had something to do with it. But yeah, you just know it. Bum 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 bum. But bum bum. It's like, okay, let's move. We know we got to dance to this, so I don't know, man. It's just, it's tribal. It is really just down to its basic, man. Killing me.
And what's funny, Ro, is what's funny about that era is if you look at some of these songs, they 15 minutes long.
Yeah, I know.
Yo, you're like, wait a minute, hold on. 15 minutes, come on, man. You got Knee Deep, 15 minutes, 30 seconds. Like, because I think what happens is they were so tapped into the music and feel and being a real good musician, it was almost like a challenge for them. Like, them cats was playing, Knee Deep is 15 minutes. I got a 15-minute cut. Like, that's incredible. You know what I'm saying? So
21 seconds.
Yep.
And it changes. It changes. It goes through these things,
Yeah.
Was this guy funk right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, definitely.
With a funky stick. He funky.
Yeah.
So we got P-Funk. What would Rick James funk be?
Oh man, Rick James is another one of those to me. He's another one of those artists. Super funk, yeah. Super funk. Like he's another one that transcended S-Funk, right? Or whatever you want to call it. But it's funny you're seeing his influence now because Buffalo's starting to get some recognition musically now. And so, being from Buffalo, Rick, that's a hard place. If you ever been to Buffalo, New York, that's like what? But he's another one, I think, who he just created I like that.
Yeah,
so
Darren said
Punk Funk.
There you go.
Punk Funk.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right on.
Yeah, that's right in the pocket right there with Rick James. But he's another one of the people like Rod said who could play multiple instruments. Great writer, great. He's another one of those cats, man.
Wow.
Yep. Buffalo James.
Wow.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Wow. So how many different styles of funk are there? So I know P-Funk. He said punk funk. I mean,
yeah. Man,
I don't know.
I
I mean,
really don't know. You know, you just so many different groups. You know, we gotta talk about One Way. One Way was funky. One Way was funky too. You know, One Way.
One Way.
Don't Fight the Feeling. Cutie Pie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's One
I know
Way.
their name.
You know?
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, One Way.
I know their
One
name.
Way.
Talk about
What?
Von Mason and crew with Rock, Skate, Roll, Bounce.
Yeah.
Man, it's so many. What about Get Up? That's another
Get It Up
song Prince played all the instruments on. Get It Up is funky, you know, by the time, you know. That's, you know, it's, man, we can go on and on when it comes to all these funk groups, you know. Brass Construction, Get Up to Get Down. That's a funky song, you know.
Yep.
That bass line is one of the greatest bass lines ever played, you know. And that's a keyboard bass, you know.
That's the Cutie Pie right there.
Yeah, that's One Way. Al Hudson and One Way. Yep.
Wow.
Tight. Super tight.
So,
tight.
When you think about hip hop, and particularly West Coast hip hop, I mean, not saying it's anywhere else, they use a lot of funk influence. They talk about that. Snoop talks about that. Would that be like another, like a branch off the funk branch, like in terms of hip hop and funk's influence on hip hop?
Yep, exactly.
I think so.
Exactly.
I think so. I think
yes, most definitely.
I think influenced by funk and P-Funk especially is the producers. Like the producers from California, your Dr. Dre's, your EA Skis, you know, your Rod Nices, like that funk was, and I think funk for us, we spend so much time in cars in California, right? We spend so much time kind of, you know, travel is travel in California as opposed to on the East Coast where you're on a train or, you know, maybe even public transit. So you had to listen to something that was going to captivate you, right? So you had to have that beat. You know, we would a lot of my family lives in Stockton, and so we would drive there a lot of times, a lot. And you would have to have that soundtrack, right? You'd have to have that. That's why them 15-minute songs was good. You know, my uncle come get me and we rock. But I think California hip hop, in terms of production, in terms of sound, definitely, you know, utilize P-Funk, most definitely.
Oh, of course, all day long.
Right on. So our dear brother is typing in. He said there's Minneapolis funk, there's G-Funk. So he's adding on to the funk. I love that. I used to love to play on words, but like, get the funk out of here. Get the funk out of my face. Funk knock you down. Like I remember people saying, funk knock you down to your knees. You know. So this is something very magical. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's you talking about Brothers Johnson when you say get the funk out of my face. You know. So Quincy Jones funky. Can we say Quincy Jones is funky? You know.
Quincy Jones.
Yeah, you know, we can go on and on and on when it comes to this. You know what I mean? Oh man, it's just so many groups. It's ridiculous.
Well,
I
heard a song Fred Wesley called "Funk for Your Ass."
Yep.
I was just
for your ass.
Yeah. You could talk about Gap Band with Humping. You can talk about Cameo with Keep It Hot. We could talk about Johnny Guitar Watson.
Yeah.
We could talk about Bernard Wright. I mean, it's just so.
I forgot all about Cameo. Oh
yeah, you can't forget about Cameo.
Yeah, we can't forget about them. You know, talk about Fazo with Riding High.
Fazo,
yeah. I mean, you talk about Ohio players with Funky Worm. You know, it's just you talking about Tonight, the group called Clear. They made the song Tonight, which DJ Quick sampled. You know, Kool and the Gang with a cut called NT. That's one of the funkiest cuts, man. Woo,
so we can
go on and on.
Or no?
Oh yeah, to me, yeah.
Before they got that singer, they were like a jazzy funk group, straight up. You know, yeah. Sly Stone, as McGillis was
the JB horn
with us and saying.
Yep.
Yep.
James Brown's horn.
Maceo and all the King's Men. Yeah, for real. Just we can go on and on all night with these groups. The Meters. Talk about the Meters. The Meters was instrumental, but they were funky. The Meters. Yes, they were funky, you know.
So one thing I did see with funk, what I did see with funk that I didn't see anywhere else, it looked like funk got stolen. I want to say something like taken over. Like when you look at other forms of music that Black folks have created, somehow it ended up with other people, or they end up being the king of it. I don't ever see that in funk. At least I have never seen it. I haven't seen nobody do that. You're not going to be some white boy. No. I have not seen that yet.
You know what's funny is talking about music historically, and it's funny because you showed those two pictures. You showed the picture of George Clinton when he was in the group, right? And he had the suits on and a conch and a, you know what I'm saying? See, that was where his music was able to be stolen, right? Because it was packaged. It was doo-wop, right? You know, you knew how you had to dress. You knew how you had funk was pure freedom. You couldn't catch it. You couldn't capture it and put it in a bottle because it was just so funky. You know what I'm saying? It was just so different. And so that's why you never see funk in a can. Trust me, if they could bottle funk up like they do R&B or rap or hip hop, whatever it is, they would have. But you just couldn't do it at the time it was being created. And the influence of it, the freedom and the revolution. Funk is and was super rebellious. Funk was rebellious, boy. It was one of the things where, you know, the messaging in it and how it was displayed, they controlled everything is what I'm saying in funk. How they looked, how they sound, how they walked, how they talked. And that had never been done in music to me before, you know. And that's why you can't capture the funk like you can other stuff.
How has funk influenced you all personally in your lives? How has funk influenced that?
Yeah, I really dig Johnny Guitar Watson's spin on it too. You know, he had his own way of bringing the blues to funk, which was really incredible when you're talking about, you know, Ain't That a Bitch? What's a real mother for you? You know, these are funk songs, but he is playing blues riffs on the song all day long, which made it incredible, and everybody could hone in on that. We instantly gravitate to that, you know, because when you get down to the root of all this music, it's coming from pain and happiness. So it's coming from pain, and it touches us in a certain way, you know. That's how we got to release that pain, was through expressing ourselves musically, you know, which is still with us today, you know. Unfortunately, that pain is still with us today. Another cat, Ray Parker Jr. He had a couple of cuts, you know, that were funky, even though his number one hit was Ghostbusters. But he had some funky cuts called, one was called, for those who like the groove, Still in the Groove. You know what I mean? So
Ray Parker,
incredible, man, incredible.
I totally forgot all about him, honestly. I think it just Ghostbusters.
What about Herbie Hancock?
Oh, definitely Herbie Hancock.
What about Herbie Hancock?
Herbie Hancock.
Was that funk? You know?
Oh,
crossing that line now. Come on, was that funk?
Yeah. It's
man.
So what is
Yeah.
Dear
brother said they can't recreate funk, and I think both of y'all are really on to something. I feel like when we're able to be our authentic selves, you can't duplicate authenticity. You can't. Like you can't put it on like a hat. It just don't look right.
No, that funk was that was just something different, you know.
Yeah.
It felt like an explosion. That's all. It just felt like an explosion of just like awesomeness. That being in America, you're so suppressed to fit into a box or to be accepted or to always try to prove yourself. And they stuff was like, just just be you. Be you, whatever that you is. And I think you're onto something when you can't package something. It's just not in one gold chain or a compared anymore. You know, and that's what I really like about it. I have seen, and I'm jumping out there a little bit, but y'all remember that group called Groove Is in the Heart? That felt like they was trying to do some funk.
What group was that, Ron? That was D-Light.
That was poppy disco-ish.
Not D-Light.
Yeah, that's poppy disco, whatever.
Yeah, that wasn't.
You said poppy disco?
That was. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, he said D-Light. I couldn't remember the name of it, but that funniness of like trying to be free, but you know, it's just on top of the freedom. I would always say, you hit it on this too, Brother Rod. You basically said there is a deepness and a pain that Black people have that other people, like white people, love the blues because they don't live them. So if you ever go to a blues fest, it be pulling it up, and I just be like, y'all don't even know what the hell this person is really talking about from their gut. You know what I mean? You're like, I'm really blues because man, I don't want to have to go to work and get this. You know, like it's just not the same thing, but they love it. You know what I mean? Because that's not their reality. It just feels good because it looks magical. You know, like it's just something there about it that feels very magical. So I think that's what makes it so special when you think about the soul.
That 12-bar blues is incredible. 12-bar blues. It's 4 or 5 groove. It's just these.
That's funny. I remember now. I remember the video, and I remember seeing them live, and Bootsy was on the bass for that D-Light group.
That's why I said it had that feeling to it, but you know, that's like everybody loved Eminem, but
he did, Rob. Yep, because they had Q-tip. They had Q-tip on the end. Yeah, I remember that. Bootsy did make that.
That's what makes it authentic, though. It's like me selling Italian sauce, but I gotta put an Italian person on the bottle because they're known for the sauce. You don't want to put me on the sauce. You know what I'm saying? You may think I use ketchup or something. You know what I'm saying?
Don't forget about Slave too, y'all. Slave was a
man.
Yeah. Slave was Not
about them. Man.
Yeah.
Do you think young people today understand funk or know enough about funk?
You talking about the young people?
I don't think so. I mean, the way the kids reference music now is usually based on a sample, right? Like a sample they heard, and then I had a kid argue me down. I can't remember what sample it was, but he was just like, "No, that's the baby," and I was like, "No, that's." Let me play the song for you. You know what I'm saying? I was like, "No, let me." But he argued me down, like, "No, you don't know." And I was like, all right, man, you know. But so yeah, I think the history is lost in that. Like the kids, they don't understand. But see, the problem is that not only is the history lost in it, but like the struggle behind the original song is not, you know what I'm saying? That story behind the sample is not known. And that's the problem, because I think you'd respect the music a little bit more if you knew what the story was behind how this got created. So
wow. That's real talk. That's real. I know there's one station I listen to on YouTube. It's called Chill Hop, and they have like chill hop, jazz hop. Those are white boys.
You said chill hop?
Chill hop. It's instrumentals, but I could just play that music just in my office, in the car, like with no words. Real cool music. But them white boys be studying everybody. Funk, jazz, soul, you know, R&B, gospel, because you can hear it when you hear them playing. And I'm like, that's you can hear the sample, you can hear where they tried to recreate it, but they'll tell you themselves that they study it. I got a chance to research some of their stuff. Was like, these is white boys. So they kind of like go, it's like when you hear that one white girl hit the note, and then the other black girl's like, how she, because she studied, fool. She was studying. You know what I'm saying? She listened to Ella Fitzgerald. You know what I'm saying?
You think about where that genre comes from, Jay Dilla. That whole chill hop thing comes from Jay Dilla. He's
Jay Dilla?
a hip hop producer. Jay Dilla is a hip hop producer but he inspired that whole genre of chill hop. You know, and let's be clear, there are some funky white boys out there.
Yeah.
You know, let's just be clear about it. They are.
Right.
They worked for it. They studied. They did their thing. Cool. But we created it. You know what I mean? So when you create something, come holler at me. You know, create something that we want to follow. You know what I mean? But music ain't got no color on it. It ain't got no color on it. What we doing is passing around this frequency and this vibration for everybody to have, feel, enjoy. You know what I mean? Only reason why we trip on color in this country is because white people made it to our attention. Before that, we didn't give a damn about color. We didn't care about no color. Y'all, we white people put that on us. Now we think about color, your skin, like it means something. You know what I mean? But we created it. So when they create something,
that's real talk.
Let me know. Let me know.
Who is,
you know what I mean?
Jay Dilla?
I don't want to isolate
Jay Dilla.
Do anything to some of my white friends and all that, but Jay Dilla is this producer that died in the 90s of lupus, which is my aunt passed away from that too in the 90s. But he influenced this music and created this whole genre of that chill hip hop stuff. Because they trying to swing like Jay Dilla, make beats like him and all that. And to be quite frank, I do too. I love his music, you know, but there's other musicians and producers now that influence me, and we influence each other. Our whole music. Anybody that plays music can't tell you that, oh, I'm not influenced by anybody. You a damn lie. You listen to music before, you've learned people's songs and all that. You've always been influenced by someone. We all influence each other. You know, it's a shared frequency. You know, when you go and learn music, learn how to play it, produce it, whatever you're doing, rap, sing, play the banjo, whatever. You're influencing and you're also influenced by the sound. You know, maybe you will create your own sound once you've learned, but we've all been influenced by people and other music that came before us. That's just the respect you gotta have for it all.
Right on. So would you say influencing is one of the ingredients to creating something?
I would say so.
Influencing or being influenced?
Either
influencing or being influenced?
I would say either or. And I'm gonna tell you why I'm saying that. If we're talking about, let's just look at James Brown. Like, you know, since he was like in the center, even though, you know, he did come from something else that inspired him. But so I'm looking at it as an ingredient. Yes. But then his struggle, you know, also put it on the one. Like, you know, like that discipline or working through your pain. Somebody said when Black folks couldn't have drums and they got a hold of horns, it was like playing the drum. It was a way for just to express. Like we dance hard. If we go, you know, we always go to the other notches because there's something else on it. It's not just to pick it up a horn and, you know, playing the Saints Come Marching In. We do it differently.
Yeah. and a lot of times we do it.
We do it differently.
Yeah.
A lot of times we do it.
Honestly, do it differently. We just you know, we do everything differently. And to be honest with you,
I think it's just a you know, it's based on experience, and it's based on, you know, what you're going through at the time, things of that nature, right? And you pick up an instrument or you pick up whatever it is, a song, whatever it is, a skill set, and you use it to kind of, I don't want to say mask the pain, but you use it as a tool to help you get past, you know what I'm saying, the fact that the lights might be turned off, or there ain't enough food in the house, or there ain't, you know, not out of necessarily, I don't want to say it's out of like, but it's out of something, you know, that's pushing you to do that. And so when that sound comes out, it just sounds different.
Yes, sir.
It comes from a
something
different place.
that's soul
It does. Yes, sir.
I've been to an Islamic funeral. These were Black people who were Muslims, American Muslim. I mean, they're African American. But when that sister sang that call of prayer, she sounded like Patti LaBelle. I was never heard the call of prayer sound like that. I was like, wait a minute, this is call of prayer. So usually it just sounds like, she hit that on some notes. And I was like, yeah, that's not the call of prayer that Arabs sing. That's not how she sang that call of prayer. You know,
Right.
So we just do it. Or if you see them do that second line in New Orleans, I don't know how many times y'all been to a second line. I've had the fortunate gone to some, you know. Man, like they start off sad, but when they turn up, you like,
it's
what?
a rap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's something unique and special about the way we discover or create or whatever. I say discover because some kids discover the sample and all of a sudden it's like y'all just discovered you've been inspired by the beat. Like just go crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know, let me ask you guys this. If someone finds a sample and you create a sample and you chop it up, you make it funky, whatever, is it something different now? Is it still, you still took it from somewhere? Yeah, it inspired you to do it, but is it something different now? You didn't just loop it. You took it and chopped it up and rearranged the rhythm. Is it different now? Because the reason why a lot of producers sample is for texture. At least for me, I sample for texture. And I make my own samples. I can play stuff and then regurgitate it as a sample and it's something new, you know. So, but hey, is it something different?
I think
it can be something different. I think there's nothing wrong with it. I just think that we just have to learn how to give credit to where credit is due. If I'm in my mama's kitchen and I borrow her flour,
that's right.
It's gonna be whatever I create, but I did borrow her flour. That's all I'm saying to start the base. I think sometimes there's something about creating like being a tree. You know, you can't be a branch and say this. I made the tree when you know there's the trunk and roots at the bottom. But you definitely your branch is definitely important. That's all I'm saying. Like I just feel like creating can mean a lot of things, but I think sometimes we forget. Like when I see people say, "Well, we made this," it's like, dude, let me go get you this song real quick. I'm listening to James Brown before we got on here. All the songs I heard all rap songs I grew up listening to. I didn't know half of them were James Brown samples.
The kid like almost wanted to fight me. I was like, yo, man, I'm just gonna show you, I'm gonna let you hear, just come listen, you know. So anyway, I was just like, whatever. But
when you talk about Rod, I think artists though.
I don't know, Rod. I think I have a love-hate with the sample because I feel like, I know how you use it and how you use it is great. But I think that sometimes, like I was saying before, in the age of music that we live in, they have so much accessibility to just take the song, chop it and screw it. You know what I'm saying? Without adding, because like you said, you get your grandmama's flour, but you might make biscuits, right? They're still your biscuits, but you still made the biscuits. But a lot of people now, and sometimes they'll take a song, a classic, and they'll just cut it up and they'll use it. And they'll use it wrong, not being a music snob, but they'll use it in a way where you're just like, man, it's a classic. Like, leave it if that's what you're going to do with it. You know what I mean? But I would think it would be flattering.
That's just a matter of opinion. That's just a matter of opinion, too. So, you know, everybody has their own opinion on what this or that should be. Like you said, somebody take the flour, somebody make biscuits, somebody might make gravy. We don't, you know, it's just there. But let's still keep pushing the music forward, being creative. I think once we get, it seems like it's an awakening for Black people. To me, it seems like more people are starting to awaken to their worth in this world now, and hopefully, as men, we can steer the younger men and women, and older women steer women and younger men in a more more of a, I don't want to say uplift, more upright, majestic position, and understand that you're worth so much more than just picking up a gun and solving your issues like that, then or just talking crazy to one another, disrespecting one another, wearing your pants off your ass and all that, you know, just all that kind of stuff. We got a lot more worth, and just think about how many cats that we've lost over the years that could have pushed funk music even further. You know, because during that 80s time, which we grew up in, it was crack decimated our people.
Yeah.
You know, they were saying, lock them up. And all the funk was going on around that time, you know. They were saying, just lock them up. They're all animals. They're super predators and whatnot. Now we got this epidemic right now. It's like, oh, you need help? We're going to get you some help. You know, we'll just call this number. We'll put you in rehab. It's not the same. It's not the same. That's that same pain that we're coming from and expressed itself. And that popped up in the 90s through gangster rap. All that popped up, reared its head again. You know, so all these outside influences always influence the music, as far as funk, rap, jazz, whatever.
Right on.
All these outside influences, that pushes us to express ourselves in a certain way. That's why I say pain, pleasure, whatever it is, that's what we're doing through, whether we're making funk, rap, jazz, whatever, blues, whatever, you know. But long live the funk, y'all.
Right on, right on. You know, you said something, Ron. I totally agree with you. But that song that everybody liked, what's that? Blurred Lines. So, you know, he got sued. He was sued by Marvin Gaye's estate. You mean to tell me we could not hear Marvin Gaye's song in that song? Because I know I did.
Oh, we heard it loud and clear.
Blurred Lines, yeah.
Loud and clear.
Blurred Lines, yeah.
Marvin Gaye, huh?
Loud and clear. He took it and he got the ball and didn't pass it back. Here, give me that. This is me. I did all this. But you can see them guys on the video saying, I reverse engineered that song, and then we came out with this song. Well, you just told on yourself. You know, you just told on yourself. You should have given them their props, and then you wouldn't have got sued like that.
Yeah. That's what I meant. I understand what
you're
saying, texture and all that. I agree. But I've seen so many people, even when you look back at the history of music, how a black person would sing something, then white folks would take it, and now it's, you know, what was I watching? I can't remember what show I was watching. Maybe it was a Little Richard story. It was Pat Boone, and he had sang something to hit Pat Boone. It was like, dude, that's so not your song.
Yeah. That was, I seen that.
Yeah,
I seen
that.
Incredible.
I seen the clip. I seen the clip of the brother on. It was either David Letterman or Johnny Carson. I can't remember what show it was, but it was one of those old talk shows. And the brother,
it was David Letterman. I've seen it too.
It was a David Letterman. You know what I'm talking about? The brother wrote all of Elvis's stuff, but he was on David Letterman and he performed all the songs. And David Letterman was like, "You never met Elvis?" And he was like, "I never met."
I never met him.
But I never really met him.
Elvis took his whole style.
Like really? Like he really the king?
His whole style.
He took you gotta watch it, bro. You gotta watch
just the song.
The brother,
the way he sang it, the way he was moving, he took everything from this guy. I'm like,
bro, and he's on David Letterman, bro. He's on David Letterman. He's like, yo, let me show you what I said, oh wow. I said, wow. Like, come on, man. So
when you said that, that's what I thought about. I don't think about it as like when you're an engineer and you're an artist and you're inspired by music and you take it and you blend and you know, I get that. I mean, I so get it. But there are people who straight up, like, okay, for example, when I watched the Love and Rock documentary, and then they were showing how it was really big in London. It's like something that they created in the ghettos of London because they couldn't really go party with nobody else. They made their own parties. Then you start seeing people like UB40. You remember that group?
Yeah.
That was Lovers Rock.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, and they weren't really, it's like, come on, that ain't even your music. They ain't even your music. Like, and then you don't give them no credit because it's their stuff. Yeah. So they never, some of us never really was into UB40 like that. You know, I knew who they were, you know, because of Red Wine. But I mean, it's kind of like I didn't bump it, you know what I'm saying? But it was like, wow, I
never jumped off that group personally myself. You know, like I said, it's just a matter of opinion, taste, whatever. You know, some people can't get deep as we can get. Some people just have to scratch the surface to have their feelings. They just have to scratch the surface. They can't go deep in there like that, you know.
I just think I was just shocked. I was like, that's clearly not your music.
I got one question for y'all though, you know.
All right.
Do you think the lyrics of today influences some of this violence that's happening?
I'm gonna say yes and no.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I wouldn't. I mean, I couldn't pin it right on and just blame it on the lyrics, right? It's a combination of things, right? So it's a home environment, right? It's kind of, you know, social constructs. It's a lot, and when you add the lyrics onto it, you know, it kind of ignites the fire, I feel. But it's a lot of, like you said, it's that pain, right? It's that pain, and then boom, you hear a song, right? And you hear a particular lyric, and it lights that firework, and then boom, and then so yeah, I think it does, but I think it doesn't in the sense that it's not the only thing. I mean, I do a lot of game mediation, and I'm working with a lot of youngsters, and it's weird, Rob, because it's like they all have access to making this music, right? And it's talking about, I mean, and and I'm gonna keep it real, it's debaucherous, man. They talking about who got killed, how they got killed, who's gonna be next, you know, who's whatever. And I'm just like, man, like, you know, music for us is so beautiful. You know what I'm saying? We're sitting here talking about funk, like we, you know, and it's not even about the music is what I'm saying. It's not even about the music anymore. Like it looks like music, it sounds like music, but it's not even about the music anymore. It's about, and so I have these conversations with them, and that's what Ro was talking about. There's no historical context to the music, right? There's no historical reference point. So they're just going through the steps, right? They're just in it for the lifestyle. And what's happening is, what we're experiencing here, especially in Sacramento, is that the odd thing is this. Let me tell you guys what's weird. If you watch the diss videos that these rappers are doing, the videos are shot dope. Like if you watch the video, you're like, damn, this is, man, the cinematography. You know what happens? They told me that rich white kids out of Antelope and Folsom, they contact them. And they're like, yo, let me shoot your next video, you know, because they're working on, you know, their catalog. And they come down and they shoot these videos for these cats. The songs are negative, videos are negative, but it goes up on YouTube and it's produced by whoever. They're getting, there's this one kid, man, every one of his videos, Ross, no lie, 4 million hits, every one, you know, little rapper dude, right? And it's like he gets these little cats to come. So I guess what I'm saying is, it's weird because as negative as it is, the dope part of it is kind of like the cinema. That's what's coming out of it. The cinematography and the shooting with drones and, you know, editing. It's all crispy clear, but the message and the content, man, it's not even about the music no more. So I think these lyrics have a little bit to, yeah.
So I'm the type of person where I don't think any of this is new. I feel like sometimes I'm like on a different planet. Like everybody's like, is this a new thing? No, it isn't. I was a kid when New Jack City came out, and you couldn't even go see it in the movie theater because people were shooting up shooting up the movie theater. Like I lived when the gang violence was out of control. You couldn't walk through the gardens with red on, which was usually the Crip territory. You couldn't be. I mean, it's kind of like, and I'm from the East Coast, so you know, of course, we got gang warring. You know, there. I feel like at the end of the day, it really is about a frequency. And I think sometimes we keep trying to like find these formulas to frequencies. You know what I'm saying? Like there's all kind of music out there you could listen to, but you may want to check what's controlling your frequency. And I think some of that, because we have a lot of kids who do a lot of positive things, they can't get no play. They can't get no play. They can't get on the news. They can't get, but if somebody kills someone, all of our activists come out in the street and we got to stop killing each other. How many young people help other young people every day, and why don't we hear about that in our community? Why are you only worth something if you're black, if you're dead? But why is that? And I can't hear white supremacy right now. I cannot hear that right now because too many of us know it already. I'm not talking to the dead and stinking black folks because I don't know any of those. And the ones I do know may not know, Some of them want to know, like, Ms. Rowe, how you know, but I feel like it's a frequency that we refuse to address. You know what I mean? Because there's no excitement around Black life. There's no excitement around Black positivity. There's no excitement. But if we're talking about killing each other up, or my man ain't shit, Black people ain't shit, all of a sudden, I mean, look at all the reality shows. They get millions and millions and millions of views, and all Black women do on there is tear each other down and tear each other up. But if it's something where we taking care of each other, or it's Black love, or we helping each other, or a father playing with his children and doing something awesome, come on, family. And no white people are going to fix that for you, because we need you to be the way. That system needs you to be just the way you are right now. Because America was made up on slave labor and people's downfall. So they don't want you to they don't want you to listen to music that make you feel good. Then the vibration makes you go up. True story. True story. One day I took my homeboy who's from Honduras. He's a Black man. He's a doctor. We went to an African party. I was like, oh, my friend's giving a party right up over here off of Mac Road somewhere. It's an African party. We get in there, they playing all this high life music. And when I tell you the vibration was really high, people were dancing and jumping around. The vibration was very high. The vibration was. As soon as they put on some Lil Wayne, because half the dudes in there had American Black women as girlfriends, everybody in the room started grinding, but the energy went down. Like it was like an energy that people just started grinding. I said, what the fuck? The whole energy changed. And then when they played the next song, immediately everybody started jumping. And I think to myself, did nobody else see that but me? Their music make them feel like life and love and dance and happy. And ours is more like nigga, bitch. And this is like, whoa, y'all didn't feel that? I can't be the only person who felt that in the room. I cannot be the only person who felt that.
You wasn't. I mean, that frequency is for real. That's why I said, do you think it's the lyrics, the mute, which is the deeper question, is it the music that is hurting us? Come on now. Let's just be real.
I think it is.
We can't, you could sit me in a room and put on a bunch of gangster music or whatever with us killing each other and all that. And I'm gonna come out of that room feeling a certain type of way.
Yeah.
If you put on something positive for me to get off, to listen to, I'm gonna come out feeling that way. So the music does influence us, but it's so many things that also influence it. Just like McGill is saying, these conditions. When we got to get over the trauma, and then we got to be real about it too. Let's get off the dope. It's people on dope like it's. What's going on?
Yeah.
I love y'all.
I know. I keep jumping off. Thank y'all so much for this conversation. It was so awesome. Brother Raj, you had to come with the dope questions at the end.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on. I shall check in with you brothers next week, y'all. We'll be talking about doo-wop. So I'll see y'all next week.
All right. Peace.
Peace. Oops.